Frightening people. Yeah, do sit closer because we need to make sure this is all working. Right, so we're on, and let us know if you can hear us, because we can't tell. And so it's helpful if at least one of you says, yeah, I can hear you, because then we know that it's not our microphone, that it's your speakers if you can't hear. So thanks for joining us, those of you that are online, all 5 of you who are live right now. And while we're waiting for some more people to join us, there are some nice hot pieces of digital marketing news. Looking at this update, there's a new browser, and I tried this the other weekend, and it's Microsoft's Edge browser. Now they've had Edge before, but what Microsoft didn't say was until something over the weekend is that it's actually built around Chrome. Okay. So they've taken the Google technology and built a browser that runs on iPhone, Android phone, and a number of other platforms, and it's faster than Chrome. Okay. And it's not Internet Explorer. So that's kind of like the big news that everyone's very excited about. That they've actually used somebody else's. There's a big thing about Pinterest. Don't know if you noticed, they are going to float the business. And one of the things that Pinterest said in their information was that they felt that their business could be impacted by changes to the Google algorithm, and they were identifying moments where Google specifically changed aspects of the algorithm that directly affected them. Right. As if Google were up to something. Yeah. So that's quite interesting. That said, because they kind of told the truth, it's making the value of Pinterest even greater. So a lot of interesting things that are coming our way that way. Right, so let's get on with the game. Today we're going to have a look at section D and looking at tasks 1 and 2 in section D, and I think that's probably going to be a lot of what our time is going to be used for today. So just to remind everyone what that task's about, you've got to provide and discuss data to demonstrate the achievement of your acquisition and conversion comms objectives. So not the retention one, just acquisition and conversion for your digital team's content. So make sure that that's what we're thinking about. And then you've got to provide a review of the initiatives that you and your agency team put in place to promote the visibility of your content. So what did you do to make it appear in the search results, including reflection on what you would do differently were you to repeat this exercise in the future. Now, I've said it before, and I think it's worth saying again, that there'll be a whole load of people who go, well, we didn't do anything. And that's fine. That's fine. Because I'd say only about a third of all the teams on the course thought, you know what, I really want to rank #1 for DSMMCM1819. I really want to do loads of stuff. It doesn't matter because nobody was being marked on that. And that's fine. We can understand the reasons why wanting to win the SEO Cup is important and wanting to put copy up is important. That's really good. But we know there aren't any marks for that in assignment time. However, understanding what doing nothing does is really important. So that's why there are 2 ways of answering this assignment, and I think that's probably worth looking at. And just to check, this bit has nothing to do with the client. So nothing to do with the client. This is all about your team's digital content. So your WordPress site, your social assets, all of those things. And if you remember from the second assignment that was handed in at Christmas, there were 4 tasks, and the second 2 tasks were about identifying a target audience for your own digital content on your site and creating some comms objectives for that. And it's about having a look and saying, okay, did you do what you set out to do? So the trick is we're saying, did you do what you set out to do, and can you prove it? And secondly, have a look at what you did in order to be visible for that search term. And if you were going to do it all again, what would you do differently? So that's really what these two things are about. So let's have a look at the first task. So providing and discussing data to demonstrate achievement of the acquisition and conversion comms objectives for your digital content. So we're asking you to provide data. So you've got to know what your acquisition and conversion comms objectives are first of all. So make sure that you can go back and see those and just have a look at them and go, that's what we said we were going to do. So you might have said, we're going to increase the number of visitors to our site who search for the phrase DSMMCM1819 from nobody to 5 people a month by the end of March 2019. So imagine that was your acquisition comms objective. So your job is to see whether you did. Now, quite a few people were coming to me and saying, we've got a real problem seeing whether people came to us on the back of searching for that phrase, clicking on links and arriving at our website. And that's absolutely right. It's really hard to know whether people did. So one of the ways we've suggested is make sure that Google Search Console is attached to your site. Now, I know some people haven't been able to do that, and there's about 4 teams across the whole course who haven't been able to attach Search Console, and I've seen probably all of them. And one of the things I said is, you want to know how many people came to your site, and I said, well, let's go and look at your WordPress stats to see how many people came to your site full stop, and have a look at how many people came through search. And I was talking to one group of lads, and they were going, we're really worried that we're not going to be able to say how many people came to us from that search term. And I said, well, let's have a look on your WordPress stats. And we looked, and only one person had ever been directed from Google to their website. So one person in 6 months came from the search engine. We've gone all fuzzy there.
I know.
What's happening there? Only one person came from the search, and I said, so if you said to me that you want to increase the number of people who arrive at your website from 0 to 5 people a month from this search term, and only one person has ever arrived ever, and we don't even know what that search term is, I think you can be sure that you haven't achieved your comms objective. So it almost doesn't matter. You don't need to go any further. You can go, well, only one person came.
So it's pretty
obvious. And this is it. Here's the data to prove it. Everyone else has come from different places. So you might think to yourself, well, maybe we had the wrong comms objective. Maybe we could have said, increase the number of people who visit our site via our Twitter feed. So people who follow us or people who click on our links on Twitter by 0 to 5 a month. So sometimes you realize that, well, we wanted to get people from this route, but actually what's happened is people have come from another route instead.
And in that way, can they change their objective?
Well, it's kind of like that's like shutting the door, isn't it, after the horse is gone. So you might think to yourself, what would you do differently next time? One of the things you might do differently next time is set a different comms objective. Maybe you set the wrong goal. Maybe the goal was wrong, and that's a perfectly fine thing. So have a look at your comms objective and say to yourself, what data shows us whether or not we've achieved that? And then in KPI terms, we're thinking of, well, were we ever going to get there? So were we able to show that if we wanted to grow from the old number of people who did something to the new number of people who did something, was it ever growing, or did it peak and then go flat? So, but the most important thing is have you got data to prove you achieved your comms objective or not? And that's a yes, we have. And did we do it? Yes, we did. No, we didn't. So it's a decision tree like that. What I want you to do is highlight any unusual or noteworthy data. So, for example, there are people who said, well, we just wanted to increase the number of people who visited our site via our Twitter feed from no one in October to 10 people a month in March. And what they found is that they're looking at their WordPress analytics, and they can see people have visited from Twitter. So they can see that. Yeah. They can't tell if it was from their account.
Right.
But they can tell people came from Twitter. So for example, in December, they had a KPI that showed that they were getting 10 people a month from Twitter. So that's okay. We've got 10 people a month.
Yeah.
Have we maintained that height if that was our goal, or have we lost it? So one of the things I've noticed is people had loads of traffic coming from Twitter, and then actually what's happened is they stopped posting links to things on their site, and then that traffic has dropped off. So you can say, well, we were getting there, this KPI shows that, and then we sort of lost it.
Yeah.
Can you think of a reason why?
Yeah.
Speculate on the cause of performance. If you really wanted to know whether people from Twitter were coming to you from things you did, you would then go and triangulate this with data from your own Twitter analytics. Yeah. So you can go and see how many people clicked on links you created from your own Twitter analytics account.
Yeah.
And I think we might go into this in a bit more depth in the workshops.
Okay.
Showing you literally how to do that.
Yeah.
But you could say if you wanted 10 people a month from Twitter, and on one of your months it showed you had 10 people that month coming from Twitter, you go to your Twitter analytics account and look literally how many people you sent from your Twitter account.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to work out how many of that 10 from your WordPress analytics is from people you sent.
Yeah.
Now, if you have fancy pants analytics systems like Radian 6, which costs, I don't know, many thousands of pounds a year, but this does it automatically. But we have to do it by hand and use each of the tools we have at our disposal, which is we've got our own WordPress analytics, and we've got our own Twitter analytics.
Yeah.
And we've got our own Facebook analytics, and we've got our LinkedIn analytics. We can use all them, but we have to do all the hard manual labor ourselves.
Yeah.
But given we probably for almost all the students on this course dealing with tiny numbers, we can literally work these things out.
Piece it together. Yeah.
So for this one, give us data that shows whether you achieved or didn't achieve your acquisition comms objective and your conversion comms objective.
Okay.
And so have you got data that shows it? Is there any unusual data? So one of the things that people might say is we didn't achieve our goal of having 5 people a month coming from our Twitter account in March. But you know what? In December, we had 20 people come that month.
Right.
That's a really interesting and noteworthy KPI.
Yeah.
And then you explain why you think that happened and make sure you've got some evidence to support that. So you should be able to point the data and put the data in your appendices and say, see, this in the appendix that literally shows that. And that might be a screen grab of the data or a download of the data.
What if someone doesn't have any unusual or noteworthy data to share?
Even look at this. This shows for 6 months, we got no one visiting. That in its own right is, look at that. It's unusual that no one came.
Right. Okay.
I mean, no one?
Yeah.
Or was there a month when one person came? Find out where they came from. See if you can say, do you know what? This person arrived from, and see if you can work it out. Anything that's a bump.
Yeah.
Anything that's weird.
Okay.
Anything that shows something happened. There'll be something.
Yeah.
The other thing you need to think about is the issues and risks associated with the data. So how can you trust WordPress analytics? And interestingly enough, yesterday there's a hashtag called ecomchat.
Okay.
And they were talking about the risks associated with trusting WordPress analytics data versus Google Analytics.
Right.
So there are some risks associated with trusting WordPress analytics. It's not as reliable, but you could type in a really interesting search term like how reliable is WordPress analytics, and you'll get a ton of stuff back on how it isn't. So you could say could be not very accurate.
Yeah.
All of these analytical tools have margins of error.
Yeah.
Now if you've got 10 people coming to your site every month and your margin of error is 20%, that means it could be between 8 and 12.
Right.
if you've got no one coming, it could be between -1 and 1.
Yeah.
So actually, you've got to think, how reliable is that data?
Yeah.
Which means, can you trust it? So make sure you just highlight anything that doesn't help with us trusting that data. And you can never trust any data.
No.
So the second job then is you've told us whether you achieved your comms objectives, your your acquisition and your conversion comms objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to look at whether what you did got you there.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a review of the initiatives that you and your agency team put in place to promote the visibility of your content. So that's visibility on the search engine.
Yeah.
And promotional visibility in social media. Okay. So what did you do? And there are two ways of answering this question. You did nothing or you did something.
Right.
So let's go down the did something route. So identify what you actually did to try and achieve your comms objectives. So what I do is in rough now is identify all the things you did. Did you post a new piece of content each week?
Yeah.
Did it have the keywords in it? Did you look at all of the factors that would make it visible in search for a particular phrase? Did you promote it on your social media channels? Did you go out and get links? Did all the things you did do? Tell us what you did do. This is for people who did do something.
Right.
Okay. Then tell us whether you think they worked or not.
Yeah.
So how successful was your SEO in its broadest and simplest terms? How successful was your social media activity in making your content visible?
Okay.
And you can say, well, did what you did actually make you achieve your comms objective? If you didn't achieve your comms objective, you're automatically saying, well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get to our goals. Give us some evidence that supports your claim.
Okay.
So did it work? And you're saying yes. Okay, what evidence have you got that says these things that you did made that happen? So I'd be looking for some kind of, again, primary data that you can screenshot or download and incorporate in your appendices that says, look, this shows that it worked. Okay. And it's up to you to tell me that it shows how it worked.
Okay.
So if you can say, look, I said I wanted 10 people a month to visit my site from our Twitter account, and you can show 10 people a month coming from your various links that you shared on your Twitter account. Yeah. There's your data.
Okay.
And Twitter Analytics has got loads of this, and so has Facebook's Insights, so has the LinkedIn Analytics. All of these can show you traffic you sent.
Yeah.
Some people might have used Bitly, which is a URL shortening thing, and then you can use Bitly for free. So if you put Bitly links wherever you shared links, Bitly will tell you how many people came. It will tell you how many people came on specific days. Yeah. Whether those links got shared themselves. Bitly gives you all sorts of stuff. And there are other URL shorteners as well. Even Google's URL shortener tells you how many people came down there. So all of these little tools will do that.
Yeah. And so what if you can show that you almost achieved your objective?
Say we didn't quite get there, but this is what we did.
Yeah.
So and show us that with evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what you should do is, and this is a kind of like sort of an add-on to that, is tell us what the issues and risks are associated with accepting that the things you did drove success.
Yeah.
So again, you could say, well, there are issues with the trustability of the data.
Yeah.
And maybe not. Or maybe you could say, well, I know we did these things, but maybe it wasn't something we did that caused us to achieve. Maybe something else happened. Can you identify something else that happened that wasn't you?
Okay.
So just tell us, you know, is this stuff can you trust this stuff?
Yeah.
If you were going to your boss saying it was definitely us, your boss would be going, really?
Prove it.
Prove it.
Yeah.
And then your boss would be going, how sure are you? How sure can you be? What could be the thing that says it's not quite that real? So I think for me, I'd be looking at a series of different analytic tools. So if you go back to lecture L017, you've got your WordPress stats that you can use. You've got some other pieces of software where you can get freebie accounts or trial accounts. So we identified SERPstat. You can use Alexa. There's the Mozbar. Then you can use things like Twitter Analytics, Facebook's own insights. Those are all the simple, easy to use tools that don't cost any money. Yeah. And that people like us who can't afford fancy pants measurement accounts have to use. So but that's not a limit. That's not an endless list. I mean, there are so many other things you could try out. So don't be afraid to try things out. So you've reviewed the initiatives, yeah? If you're going to do this differently, next time, this is for people who did do something this time round. What things or what series of actions could you take to improve the performance so that you would be more likely to achieve your comms objectives next time round? So have a think of a couple, 3 or 4 tops, absolute tops, and then think about the pros and cons of each one. What's the advantage and disadvantage of each of those tactics in achieving that comms objective? Yeah. And then choose one. Choose the one which you think would be the most powerful in improving performance. Explain why you're choosing that. Yeah. And explain what the issues and risks are associated with using that tool to make that goal happen. Okay. Make sure you've got lots of evidence. So when you're looking at pros and cons, make sure that you accurately reference them if you've read them somewhere else. Yeah. When you're making a choice as to why this is the single initiative that you'll use, make sure when you're justifying that choice that you support that with some either secondary data, something you've read, some data of your own, or an assumption. Okay. If you're looking at issues and risks associated with that tactic to achieve that goal, again, I suspect you'll be referring to secondary, things you've read, evidence for that. Yeah. So that's if you've done something. What about if you've done nothing? Yeah. What if you did nothing to achieve your comms objectives? The we did nothing version. So you need to provide data that demonstrates a lack of achievement of your comms objectives. Okay. So prove to me that you didn't hit those goals. Yeah. So look at what the goal is for acquisition and the one for conversion and go, right, did you? Or you say you've done nothing. Yeah. I know people who've done nothing who can still achieve their goals. Okay. So have a look at your comms objective and go, well, did you achieve your goals? And some people go, yeah, we did nothing and we still got 10 visitors a month. Unlikely, but possible. On the other hand, it's more likely to be, here is us achieving nothing. Here is us invisible in the search index. Yeah. Here is us not having any visitors to our page. Here is us not having people stay on the page for more than 2. Whatever the goal you set yourself in acquisition and conversion, show us the data that you didn't get there. Yeah. Have a look to see if there is no data. Okay. So one of the things is you might have lots of noughts. Yeah. I want to see noughts. Okay. It's no good going, no one visited, so we've got nothing to show you. I want to see the flat line. Okay. So again, that's primary data. Yeah. You refer to it. And so even if you're using Google Search Console and it says no data, you can take a screenshot of that. Yeah. So you've got no data in your WordPress stats. Yeah. No data in any of these. If you had a Twitter account which you literally did not use to send people, go and look at your Twitter analytics. You might be surprised. Okay. So, bear that in mind. Speculate on the cause of lack of achievement. So why don't you explain why you think you haven't achieved those goals?
Okay.
Make sure you've got some references to support that, whether it's secondary data, primary data, or some assumptions you've got to make. Again, highlight issues and risks associated with your data. So one of the things is you might say, we did nothing, but we've had visitors.
Okay.
One of the things that visit sites a lot are bots.
Yes.
So whether it's the search engine crawling through your site, or other things visiting your site, or yourself, or your mum, it's like there are visitors that turn up, many of which are automated.
Yeah.
So can you see them? You might find inside some of your data that you're able to identify when it's basically the internet having a nose round itself.
Okay.
So that's the we did nothing version of show us the data. Then a we did nothing version reflecting on what you would do differently. So you are saying we did nothing.
Yeah.
So now you need to identify a series of actions that you could take if you were to do this in the future. So if you were to do this all again, what would you do this time? So this is going to be a slightly longer list maybe than the people who did things in the past.
Yeah.
So again, I want the pros and cons of each of those tactics that you could do, the actions you could take.
Yeah.
And then rather than just choose one, I want you to choose several and prioritize them. That might be prioritize them all. So what's the number one thing to do, and so on. And justify why they're in that order. Why is that one the most important thing to do, and so on. Again, give us some evidence to support that. And then highlight the issues and risks associated with the things you say you're going to do.
Okay.
So what could go wrong with doing these things? So again, that's a slightly longer discussion, because you're saying nothing about the things that you did do.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do anything.
Exactly.
And that's fine. So that's how we deal with that.
Okay.
I think that you've got to remember that this is a 2-page document for this section D.
Okay.
So it's not about a raft of words that are, you're not trying to desperately fill these pages.
Yeah.
You will fill them up differently depending on whether you did something or did nothing.
Yeah.
And did nothing means outside of posting your assignments on the website, you did nothing.
Yeah. So it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
So even if you just did one tweet back in December.
If you did one tweet back in December, you did something.
Yeah.
However, you might want to reflect on how much of a something that was. But there are people who didn't do any more content, didn't do anything beyond just putting up their assignments.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that.
That's who they are. Okay.
Ask me anything.
So if you did nothing, and you're speculating on the cause, you can't just say, well, the cause is because we did nothing.
So we're looking on speculate on the cause of lack of achievement. So the achievement is your comms objectives.
Yeah.
Did you achieve them or not? Why do you think you didn't achieve them?
But you can't just say because we did nothing.
It might be about certain things that didn't occur. Okay. We did nothing, and what has that created?
Yeah.
That has created perhaps no traffic to your site.
Yeah.
It has created, it's about trying to, there are people who did loads who didn't achieve their goals.
Okay.
There are people who did nothing, and actually they still got some data.
Okay.
What we're trying to say is, can you look at whether doing nothing made you miss your objectives?
Yeah.
Or was it something else?
Okay.
We did not do X, Y, and Z, and this has meant that we were unable to achieve our goals.
Okay.
So if you didn't do any additional posts, for example, with SEO'd content, you could say, well, we did nothing to increase the visibility of our site in search for this key phrase. And that's one of the reasons why. But you remember, you've got to link your comms objective. You've got to look at that and say, what did we do to achieve that? If we did nothing, is that the reason why we've not achieved it?
Yeah. Okay.
And you've got to give us some kind of evidence to support saying that.
Yeah.
That's, it's kind of it's
a
bit like a confessional, isn't it? You've got to, you sinned, so what were the consequences of sinning? That's
it's really, not enough to just say really we didn't do anything.
We're looking to. So Lewis is just saying Anticonda was on it till December, but second term came along, other assignments came to play, and we were not able to post regularly onto the website. Just saying no specific question. Well, I think, Lewis, you've got to remember you did things.
Yeah.
And then what happened is you stopped doing things. So you answer the first part of the question. You answer the did something version. But you can also speculate on the cause of why you think. You can speculate on the cause of your performance. You can say, well, we were there, the KPIs show we were on our way, and then we stopped doing stuff, and now we can see what that causes too. So you are answering the first version of the question, which is the we did something version.
Yeah.
Because if you did do things, you will be able to see whether you were on your way to achieving your comms objectives.
Yeah. And just to double check, so we don't need to focus on the retention objectives.
No retention. Purely acquisition and conversion comms objectives. So the ones about getting people to site and the ones about making them do something when they're on site. So different people had different conversion comms objectives, and it might be get 50% of visitors to like a post on our site.
Yeah.
If you had 2 people visit your site and one of them click like, you've achieved. But can you say it's because of something you did?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier to make conversions happen when they are percentages.
Yes.
Because then you're not relying on. So sometimes really canny managers will go, I see what you're doing there. You want to convert 50% of people. What I want you to do is I want you to get 100 people a month to like this page, not 50% of visitors.
Yeah.
So sometimes you might find there are absolutes, and you might have had an absolute in your either acquisition or conversion comms objective, but how you word comms objectives often affects whether they're achievable or not.
Yeah.
But that's something for you to think about. That's what we torture postgrads with.
Yeah.
When we really get fast and loose with those. What else can we think about with this assignment? What were the tools for measuring things would you look at? What other platforms? I mean, I don't know how many accounts people have on different platforms, but you might find that you're able to look at your performance in different things.
Yeah, well, Google Search Console is probably the best one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have put ranking for certain keywords as one of their comms objectives.
It's quite interesting when you look at Google Search Console. I know there are 4 teams who can't. So that, but I don't think they need to worry too much because we've had a look at how many people visited their site at all from search. But you can see your visibility for a key phrase in a particular week, over a particular month, over a 3-month period. And I think it actually goes back 18 months now, Google Search Console. Okay. They made some changes really recently. So you could see how your visibility for that phrase has altered over time. So that might be an unusual or noteworthy KPI. So what if you were really high and then suddenly dropped?
Yeah.
And the thing about where you rank for a key phrase is dependent on what you do, but it also is affected by what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So your ranking is relative to everyone else.
Yeah.
So you might find that you were like number 1 for the key phrase in October and November, and then suddenly you're number 10.
Yeah.
it's not necessarily because you're doing less, but because other people are doing more.
Yeah.
So bear in mind that when you speculate on the cause of performance, have a look at who was up against you and go, well, actually they did loads more.
Yeah.
So it was really clear that they were taken over.
Yeah.
Jacob T14 says, how many tools do you think are necessary in order to achieve a good answer, saying we've done mediocre on the work on the website? So you've done something, and I don't think it's about how many tools, it's about choosing the right tool.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have a look at your acquisition comms objective and your conversion comms objective and go, what tool do I need to use?
Yeah.
So if I was looking at increasing the number of people who visited my site from 0 people to 10 people a month from Twitter by end of March. So I would have to look at my WordPress analytics to see how many people came from Twitter. I'd be able to see that. I'd be able to see if I was increasing in that. So I'd be looking at that over time. And then my goal is there's a point when we stop measuring, I go, that's the moment of have we achieved it? So I look at WordPress analytics and I'm thinking, well, I need to look at Twitter analytics because I need to see who I'm sending there so that I can see how many people I've sent versus how many have simply been sent by Twitter. So you might find on your WordPress analytics that 10 people in March came from Twitter.
Yeah.
But looking at your Twitter analytics, you might say, well, I've actually only sent 8 of those people.
Yeah.
So 2 of those people must have come from another source.
Account. Yeah.
So it might have been, your mum on her Twitter account saying, go and look at this.
Yeah.
The other thing you've got to remember is, can you trust the data?
Yes.
So you might just check up on how reliable is Twitter analytics data, how reliable is WordPress data, and that might make you think, well, it's difficult to tell if as many as 8 came, or did we not send all 10 and there's just this mismatch?
Yeah.
Just, you need to understand the problems with trusting the data.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with such small numbers, that can be a real thing. Now, Lewis has said Moz, and if we look back to what Moz does, it allows you to assess people who link to your site and how valid they are. So you might find that somebody who links to your site sends you traffic.
Yeah.
So one of your goals might have been just simply to increase the number of people who visit our sites coming from another site. So you might have a goal around linking. So Moz tells us a lot about links. It tells us about the domain authority of a site that's linking to us, and the page that links come from, the page authority. That would be a useful tool to look at that. Have a look at what Moz does. Moz shows lots of really interesting bits of data. Maybe we'll have a look at that in the workshop, so a nose around what Moz does, if it doesn't kick me out again, because it kicked me out several times this week.
Yeah, they've changed it recently.
But there's some simple and basic data, and put the Moz toolbar on your browser, so it'll work on Chrome and on Firefox and on the new Microsoft Edge, because it's just Chrome in another hat.
Yeah.
And we'll have a nose around at those in some of the workshops today. So okay, Jacob T14 says, okay, thank you for the answer. Another inquiry is whether visitors from other countries, where for some reason we have about 5 in Hong Kong, still count the same. Well, they may, if it's from WordPress analytics, have a look to check whether WordPress is showing you unique visitors or just simply different sessions from the same visitor.
Yes.
And it will show you that deep within the analytics. You have to drill down a bit into them, but you want to know if you've got 5 different human beings,
or the same person.
Or it's the same person coming 5 times.
Yeah.
So look at the difference between sessions and unique visitors, and your website will drop a cookie onto a visitor's machine, whether it's their phone or a laptop or whatever. And if it's a different person, it will be able to tell.
Yeah.
Unless that person clears their cookies.
Yes.
Normal humans don't clear their cookies very often.
Not every time.
Unless you're trying to game the Ryanair flight engine. So yeah, Jacob, you've got 3 are unique, which means if 3 are unique and 2 are copies, it means of those 3, 2 of those people came back again, or 1 of those people came back 3 times.
Yeah.
So you should be able to work that out from within your your WordPress analytics data.
Yeah.
What you have to say to yourself is, our goal, was it unique visitors or visits. Sessions?
Yeah.
And actually, again, it just shows you how tough it is.
Yeah.
That is. Does it matter if they came from outside the UK? Well, did you say that they had to come from the UK? It's about your comms objective. Unless you said it must be visitors from the UK in your comms objective, then no, it doesn't matter. But again, it shows you a problem around writing comms objectives until you start collecting data. Sometimes you don't realize the impact of your actual comms objective.
Yeah.
I know people who said, we've had loads of visitors, to proper commercial sites, and they go, yeah, but none of them are people who would ever be buying from you. They're all from somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a problem. But for the purpose of this exercise, you can go, yeah, we did have some visitors from Hong Kong. Well, yeah, does that matter? Or is it like no help at all? I think you've got to decide what the consequences of this data are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had visitors from Hong Kong this week as well.
Have you?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just like people having a nose round.
Yeah.
But some people just arrive. You've got to think, well, where did they come from, and how have they got here? That's the most interesting.
Yeah. And can you trust that data?
Yeah.
Are they actually in Hong Kong?
Are they in Hong Kong?
Don't know.
Is it a proxy in Hong Kong or a VPN that's in Hong Kong? They might be from within China.
Yeah.
And they might be VPNing in some way that makes it look like it's coming out of Hong Kong. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm not going to admit something now on the YouTube clip. I'll tell you all in the classroom. But there's a trick you can do to do something clever to allow you to use something that you're only allowed to use in England. But I'm not going to implicate myself in any legal action on a film.
We're live.
Yeah, we're live, and it's the internet. Right, okay. Well, we're coming up to 1:45. So what I'm going to suggest is that we round off our talk now, and then we can look at some of these issues in more detail in the workshops, which are coming at 12, 3, and 4:30. Does that work out for you?
Yeah, great.
All right, folks. So hopefully we'll see some of you at our sessions today. Good luck with what you're writing. Take care.
Bye.